Hello. Welcome to another edition of Just a Bit Outside. I am Topher. I'm quickly losing my voice. Holy crap. First off, welcome aboard. It is season 2, episode 2. We are live right now on YouTube, and soon to be launching on Spotify later tomorrow morning. I want to just say, hopefully your new year is actually going as well as I've expected a few things to go for the new year. And man, oh man, it's a new year. It's a new time. But again, welcome to Just a Bit Outside. We are an SSBN podcast brought to you by Small State Big Network. Those fabulous boys down there in Rhode Island. We are their Boston affiliate up here. And I don't know how anyone takes a shocking piece of events like what I've just literally seen for today. Today is absolutely shocking. It didn't expect it, didn't think to the fact that a lot of things are going to happen right away. But here we are. It's the 5th. The Patriots, you can actually state, are 1-0 in the year to end their year. But then, stuff I've talked about, everything that happened, well, for next year, we'll be holding the Mayo. I've said it a few times that Mayo needed to go. And there's going to be a couple things I'm going to talk about here. And bring right to the point. I was going to go live earlier today, and I'm like, something, I want to do it as a breaking news segment, but everybody and their mother was breaking news on it. I wanted to get a couple ideas and a lot of stuff. I'm going to start with Tavai's comments for what he said just basically about everything going on. And one of the things that really irks me, I understand you're going to bat for your coach. I understand you're also going to bat for a lot of things that are happening around you. And you're trying to keep it low key. The first thing Tavai did was he came off with kind of a negative aspect and negative attitude towards it. Not the way to really go, not the way to pitch a lot of things to say, hey, this is great. This is wonderful. Although my fan base, listen, we got to be a little bit better. You're asking for a guy's job. And a lot of points to what Tavai was saying is, yes, a lot of people, they're mad. They're upset. They're looking at, here I do taking my Sunday watching a football game. I can't see my guys win. Can't see my guys do a lot of things. But as I'm seeing it, one of the disappointments is I'm watching this team every game. Is it a little bit annoying? Yes. To see a loss? Hugely. But it's part of the game. You're going to win, you're going to lose, you're going to have winners, you're going to have losers. I just think he could have handled it a hell of a lot better than if I look at, I had something saved on my phone, and this is the reason why. Just the comments itself were a little bit off key. Saying everybody can say what they think we should be doing, but in the long end, they're not qualified to do what Mayo is doing or whatever the Crafts are doing. They're fans. I appreciate it. I appreciate them at times, but sometimes they just got to know their place. Well, Tavai, I'm going to tell you straight off. I'm going to put you in your place. You've been up and down, but you've had like a positive season. Can't state it to like actually be something bad. To go off on fans though, dude, you need to correct yourself a little bit. The fans have every moment to be upset. They pay good money to see you. And you lose. This is a team that had a top tier defense last year, the year before. You know, their defense was the staple of the team for a very, very long period of time. You guys haven't shown anything to that. Case in point where, like, you know, fans are a little bit pissed. Can you blame them? No. Are they going to come out and say it? Yes. Are they calling to fire Gerard Mayo? I bet if you talk to them, it's because, hey, we're dealing with the losing season, and it's more of a losing season than we ever expected to have. Sure. Are they upset? Absolutely. Do they have a right to be? Yes, they do. Talk to me, though. Candid comments, body language, methods of throwing guys under the bus, methods of, you know, wanting to build a new culture, wanting to build certain things, and then escaping away from it. Like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to, like, have, you know, the best antics for your team. Leaving it to a comment of, hey, we just got to be better. There's no reason to say anything else. We went out there, we played a game. Didn't happen the way we wanted to. The other team was better, and we've got to be at that level and be better. Is there any reason to state, oh, defense and the whole team is soft? No. Take heed for Drake May's comments. Drake May says, like, I know I did this. I've got to go out there and be better. That's it. Your coach didn't do that. Your coach was not the presentation of being positive. Your coach was not someone who's carrying himself properly in a way that you need to be carried. You know? When did that come back on? But in the way, you have to look at it in that manner. Why, in any which way, was this happening? Why was this here? What did he do? Well, he started the season right, and I'll state it. He started off doing things proper. He went out and, like, you know, showed a little bit within the passion and everything like that for, like, the preseason. He said the right moments. He gave you everything that you needed and then some. But then somewhere within the first 3 games was, even beforehand, oh, we're going to play our best guy. You know, talking about the quarterback situation. Was Jacoby Brissett your best guy? No. Here's an aspect that I don't think people understood properly, and I'll use Bo Nix as, you know, just a staple that I can actually look at. The Denver Broncos, and I'll say it because I had Bo Nix on my fantasy. Bo Nix was probably not something I expected. And if you talked to me at the beginning of the year, seeing him in his first 2 games, I would have wrote him off for the year. And I actually did. Bo Nix took his licks, understood the team, understood, like, you know, the game plan and everything like that. But it was a building structure between Bo Nix and the Broncos to get forward and find where you needed to be. You can't do that on the bench all the time. So to understand a lot of detail, places you want to be, things you want to carry, then yes, Bo Nix was a stepping stone. To do his first game, to even week 18, where the Broncos are playoff bound. First time in 8 years since they won the Super Bowl. They're going to the playoffs. The Russell Wilson era is ended. The absolute craptastic methods of what they've had is over. Sean Payton has actually refurbished and reestablished the Denver Broncos as a playoff team. Can't fault him for coming in and doing that. Now, looking at that as a whole, Bo Nix played all 17 games for the team. Drake May didn't start till week 6? Can you hold something accountable to that? Sure, absolutely. You've just got to take that as an understanding. But can you fault in any which way, shape, or form a guy that's sitting there and didn't start, should have actually played a couple extra games where they probably had more of a chance to win? Sure. And where were you leading down? You led down the aspect that Jacoby Brissett was your guy. So Jacoby went out, did everything he did, was probably the most horriblest thing I've seen. And this is now what you're left with. Am I stating to the fact that there's something really wrong with that? In a manner, yes. I would have loved and enjoyed to see Drake May run his rookie season, run everything he needed to. Look at Jaden Daniels in Washington. Took a team that was absolutely failing. Came in as a rookie, number 2 pick, and ran with that team, worked with that team, built up that team. Was the only thing that you would have seen for a quarterback. And this is where he's carried. He's now a staple in Washington. He could come out and have, the sophomore sucks. And when I say sophomore sucks, usually your second year as a quarterback, you take a couple extra hits. It's where I also gave Mac Jones his little understanding point. It's listen, you're not going to be good all the time. You're probably going to have a really, really niche time going into the second year. I just also didn't expect him to have those issues with the coaches he had. But getting back to where we were, there was a lot of things that Mayo did, and also that Tavai, I don't think, understood on the other side of the ball. When you're in a fan base and you're looking at your coach and you're looking at everything around you, you're not seeing everything in the locker room. You're not seeing everything from the press boxes. And you're also not being told everything in the world. But when you can see Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft sitting up in the boxes, and they're watching the games, and they're they traveled to just to go down and see the team and look over the team. It's not just body language down on the field, which is I'm having a game today. What am I going to do with these guys? Try to fix them? Maybe. Try to actually get them to coach? Maybe. When you have that, I don't know what I'm doing attitude, it screams to a lot of people. Knowing to the fact that maybe you should have had Drake May run or do a run play, and then it fails. And instead of actually taking that responsibility every time, Now all of a sudden you look at your offensive coordinator and you go, well, I mean, somebody should have called a run play for Drake May. Wait a minute, what? You just took Alex Van Pelt, threw him under the bus, and watched him get dragged. Why? Because what? You didn't want to watch? You didn't want to say anything? Go up to the man and say, hey, what's your plan for fourth down? That's a coaching move. When you sit there and you look at your offensive coordinator and you're listening to what he's like pitching out and you're not getting anything said, whose fault is that? Gerard, it's yours. You know, I say this because like there's a couple things I can say. Like it is stated that defensive coaches, you know, they know a lot about the game. They take like a lot to like what is said, but the one thing is that they make the best coaches. Why? Because they know the offense at a certain level. And they can carry themselves on that level. But they also issue the defensive strategy in knowing what the offense is going to choose, what they're going to basically put in a really good light, and then pitch everything off to where it needs to be. In the sound mind of what you're looking at with, you know, Gerard Mayo, I think he understood defenses perfectly. He was a defensive mind, played defense, knew defense to what it was in every which way, shape, or form. But I think somewhere along the line, he just didn't understand or have knowledge of how to implicate the offense if needed and where to make specific changes where your defense and offense will actually thrive. I think that's where Alex Van Pelt should have stepped in and said, hey, we can do this, make this happen, and then you'll be in a good spot where you should be here. Better understanding? Yes. Having people around you to feed off that, or going up to a coach and being like, hey, we need to implement more runs. We need to get more things happening. We need a little bit more with what our expectation is for the coach to handle. Is Drake May running? Is he throwing? Do the wide receivers understand what the goal is? Do we know, hey, this is fourth down territory? We need to now not be receivers. We need to be blockers because we want to kind of give the implication that we are going to throw, but you need to be ready to take a hit and level a hit. Having that understanding, coaches need to be on the same page. And for me, I think somewhere along the line with the soft comments and the throwing under the bus for certain things, I think that's where Gerard and Alex Van Pelt kind of went this way. It just didn't seem like it was a proper coaching fit. Like nothing that was kind of implemented was there. And maybe it was also to the fact that like either Elliot Wolf did the picking of the coaches. Maybe it was a couple other things that were actually done that, you know, did Jonathan Robert go through, pick the coaches, make sure everybody was there? Because I understand Robert's initial move. And right now, the issue that he's basically in certain ways, like I want to make sure I get it right. Just looking at everything that was expected, I don't think I don't think his method of like what the trying to think of where I was going with I don't think a lot of things that like what his expectation was there. And knowing Gerard for like 17 plus years, knowing to the fact like, hey, this is where we wanted to go, this is what we wanted to do, and then not really implementing that in like certain ways. I think that's where he was a little bit on the side of, this is not what my expectation was. Knowing that he had a better concept for what he was drafting, a better concept for what he was doing. Just I think in overall having the conversation with Gerard, knowing which way he wanted to go, how he wanted to go, I think fueled him. But the other thing was like, I think not giving Gerard a chance and losing him to another team and watching him be like fantastic. I think that's where like he would have had that little bit of questionnaire. And I would have had the same thing. If I'm sitting there and I'm having the idea for a coach and it was somebody within like, the inner sanctum of the Patriots, like, they knew what they were doing. They know the drive and everything like that Robert Kraft had like over the multiple years, then yes, that becomes a big, huge ordeal because you want to grow from that. It's the same way when you hire from within. There's a reason you do it because that person knows what you're doing. They've already done 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, already under the belt of what the business is going to do. An outsider is not going to know anything. I think that's where like a lot of people, when they sit there and talk with like a lot of people, the first thing they come up with is, something? I got this. Mike Vrabel, perfect, understood, good way to go. And Kraft wasn't like in a position of bad news, considering this was the statement from Patriots chairman and CEO Robert Kraft. At some point, like I want to figure out how to get a thing up here so this way you guys can read instead of like me actually doing it from my phone. It says, after the game today, I informed Gerard Mayo that he would not be returning as the head coach of the New England Patriots in 2025. For me, personally, this was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. I've known Gerard for 17 years. He's earned my respect and admiration as a rookie in 2008 and throughout his career for his play on the field, his leadership in the locker room, and the way he conducted himself in our community. When he joined our coaching staff, his leadership was even more evident as I saw how the players responded to him. When other teams started requesting to interview him, I feared I would lose him and committed to making him our next head coach. Winning our season opener on the road at Cincinnati only strengthened my convictions. Unfortunately, the trajectory of our team's performances throughout the season did not ascend as I had hoped. Since buying the team, I've always considered myself and my family as custodians of a public asset. We have tremendous fans who expect and deserve a little. We have tremendous fans who expect and deserve a better product than we have delivered in recent years. I apologize for that. I've given much thought and consideration as to what actions I can take to expedite our return to championship contention and determined this move was the best option at this time. I'm grateful for Gerard's many contributions to the New England Patriots throughout his career and will always be rooting for his success. I appreciate all of his hard work and hope his experiences gained will help him in the future, as I still believe he will be a successful head coach in this league. I wish Gerard and his family nothing but success in the future. Robert Kraft. Now, the one thing I'll praise Robert with, he did what any businessman would do. He took it upon it where, hey, we're going to grow. And this is where we're going. I know Gerard's leadership. I know how he's, going in the factum of how the players react to them, how like a lot of other things react to them. And some of the ways, looking at Robert's statement here, yes, the win in Cincinnati was huge. The win in Cincinnati was on the road. It was against the Bengals team that was completely beat up. A Bengals team that sadly, near the end of the year, just went on this tangent. And they just scraped by to miss the playoffs. But this is basically a team that, well, actually, I didn't even see. Let's see the playoff picture if it is. Yeah. Just looking at that, I wanted to see if the Bengals did make it, and they did not. I'll go over that in a minute because that's going to be huge for Wild Card Weekend. Just everything after that first game, you just saw loss after loss after loss. With a win here, just the methods of going against everything being very, very limited. I think as a first-year head coach, you have to come out headstrong. I think starting the year with Drake May would have been huge. I think that would have been like a little bit more of a weapon that you could have like actually utilized. Grasped it, ran with it, did everything in the world to nurture it and have it learn. And I'm talking about Drake May as like he's, a commodity. But when you get down to it, Drake May is exactly what he is. He's a very good quarterback who's going to be probably a fantastic quarterback in the league. That we have to take in every aspect from going forward. So whoever the next head coach is, they're getting keys to the kingdom of a top 5 round pick for 2025. A top tier rookie quarterback that'll go in his second year. But looking at this from outlay of outside in, and somebody on my personal page made a specific comment. I'm going to try to pull it up. And of course, I don't pull the right one up. There it is. The comment was, because we need an offensive guy that can help develop May. They said Mike Vrabel will bring energy, but won't be good for his development. Just like Bill Belichick was never good at developing quarterbacks. He just fell into the best ever. Look at the poo he drafted and developed after that. Case in point. However, I think what the person forgets is what I want is a good offensive coordinator. That's what I want a good offensive coordinator for, and as well as a good quarterbacks coach. Quarterback coach will work with Drake May directly. offensive coordinator is going to work with the offense directly while piecing in Drake May in the notion for running the offense. And the coach will work with that person in order to get an understandable mind of what's going on, why they're running the offense or where they are. Good for plays, good for certain things, good for amenities that you're going to need on the field that'll actually carry a lot more. Having a wide open running back, having a decent throwback to tight ends if the wide receivers are not downfield. Things like that can make mountains. Now, in the time, and I know Hunter Henry is still here, I know Kendrick Bourne is still here. Within the time, they've gone from I don't think Hunter Henry was here during the time. No, I think he was. So they went from a pure offensive coordinator in Daniels to whatever the hell the offensive crapola was for the second year, which was Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, etc. To oh God, what the hell was his name? Offensive coordinator, Patriots. Bill O'Brien. So yeah, you went from Josh McDaniels to Bill O'Brien to Alex Van Pelt. This is funny. Van Pelt's record made him the second least successful offensive coordinator in New England history. Curious of who was. Oh, Jimmy Ray in 1990. They had a 1-15 record. Oh. So there's worse out there. Larry Cannon in 97 was 10-6. Charlie Weiss, 53-27. Josh McDaniels, over his years, he has a 73% win percentage, 154-55. And by the way, that also includes Mac Jones's first year. Bill O'Brien was there for 2 years. It didn't say who the coach was for 2009 and 2010. Because Bill O'Brien was 2011. And then Josh McDaniels took over from 2012 to 2021. Charlie Weiss was 2000 to 2004. And then there was nobody for 2005. Josh McDaniels took over from 2006 to 2008. 9 and 10 are blank. 2011 was O'Brien. 2012 to 21 was McDaniels. Yeah, they don't even say 2022 because you know what that mess was. Yeah, then it was Bill O'Brien again, then Van Pelt. 18.8 win percentage. And the thing is, Alex Van Pelt is not a bad offensive coordinator. I do believe to the fact that like it's a little disappointing that we're not going to see the pure aspect of Alex Van Pelt's offense, because considering he was actually let go, I think about a half an hour to 45 minutes after Gerard Mayo got his news. For what I see, Alex Van Pelt took the Browns for like what they were struggling with, and they took Jacoby and they worked with it, and they made this absolutely fantastic system that worked for the Browns, and it was great. And now that I'm looking at it now with him gone, what's the next level? What's the expectation going here? Because I'm not seeing that at all. But there's a lot to look at and a lot to see where it's going to grow. Because whoever becomes the coach, whoever the offensive coordinator is, you're going to have a lot to clean up. Because you're going to need a number one in order to handle everything. You have probably 3 number 3s right now, with maybe a potential number 2. You don't have that subliminal wide receiver 1 game. And I have a feeling if you're a coach stepping into the Patriots right now, you're going to step in with $130 million on your staff. $130 million. You're the top 5 pick of the draft. A stud quarterback right now. That's basically your franchise. An absolutely amazing cornerback for your defense. You've got a defensive prowess that can actually be rebuilt and restructured a little bit more to get back to the Bill Belichick way of doing defense. You have a lot more that could basically play that game and do so much more and then some. That'll be monumental with everything forward and where it's at. And this is why, like, a lot of times I tell this story, because when people say, "Oh, what do you think about Mike Vrabel? What do you think about Mike Vrabel?" I have high praise for Mike Vrabel, and to where other people will actually say, Mike Vrabel. No, not really. I want people to tell me why. Mike Vrabel stepped into a Tennessee Titans coaching opportunity that he started with a culture and a way to handle things. Working with the GM there, working with a couple other things, and basically had a good step forward in everything that his expectation was. The thing was is that with Vrabel, he expected excellence within what he was doing, and his team knew that. They knew what the expectation was. They knew what the assignment would be, and they knew what the job was going to be going forward. Now, when you roll into dealing with Mike Vrabel in that aspect, one of the things that comes to mind is exactly what you're going to do with the method you're going in. His first 2 seasons, he was, an absolute great coach. He held his team high. He did everything that was supposed to be done. He also brought the Tennessee Titans into the playoffs. Also, one of his top tier pieces was going head to head with Bill Belichick and beating him. Now, of course, beating Bill Belichick wasn't like the huge thing, because everybody always knows when you're when you're Bill Belichick, your coaching tree is going to be everything that you expect from that. Now, growing that, Mike Vrabel was a part of his football staff on the field, but then also did stints with Kansas City. And I think what people also forget is he was, well, looking at this right now, as a coach, he was coach of the year in 2021. He was a head coach from 2018 to 2023. So he built that. 9-7 first year, nope. Second year, 9-7, same thing. Second in the AFC South, lost to Kansas City in the championship game. 11-5, lost to Baltimore in the wild card game. 2021, 12-5, lost to the Bengals in the divisional game. Why are these like so big? Because Kansas City being what they were, and then Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals, you lost against a really, really good teams that were stacked. They were built to be where they are. You're going against Lamar Jackson. You're going against, Patrick Mahomes. You're going against Joe Burrow. These are guys that are going to do so much. And then for starting with the Titans, a 6-11 record for the 2023-2024 season, he was let go. The year before, they were 7-10. But what they forget to do, and at least tell you, is they were basically pulling pulling players, sending them off. From his time within Tennessee, he lost so many players. And what was it, A.J. Brown, who's now on the Eagles? Where did he go? Heck, he also started with the Texans, where Romeo Crennel, another Belichick guy, they moved Crennel to assistant head coach, and then they put Vrabel as the defensive coordinator, and he coached J.J. Watt, Javon Clowney, Benedict McKinley. So you coached really big guys. Then you got decided to go to Tennessee. It's a 5-year deal, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So he basically got an extension somewhere, and then, he was dismissed. The other part that they don't tell you, and the reason why I'm telling you the story about Mike Vrabel. So, on the year that he was dismissed, the Tennessee Titans had a bye week, and Mike Vrabel was inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame during that year. During that moment, I still get a really big kick out of it, because they were considered trading the coach instead of firing him. But the question was, is he went to the ceremony, had a conversation with everybody, everything was going all right, but there was curiosity as to the fact that, like, he was being pulled. So, and what I mean by, like, being pulled is if somebody was dangling, like, hey, you want to coach the Patriots? Hey, you want to coach the Patriots? Hey, you want to be the successor for Bill Belichick? You want to coach the Patriots? And I think when they made the mind to let him go, I believe it was to see if he was going to be the next in line. So somewhere within my radar, it was hire Gerard Mayo. See how Mayo does. If Mayo falls on his face, you have a backup plan in Mike Vrabel. But if you take the year and do what you're doing for that year, the benefit of having the year is you're not going to have someone like the Titans go in and be like, hey, were you trying to poach him? No. Why would we do that? So to me, I think the conversation started with Kraft and Belichick during that time and going into it to the fact that, like, there could be a chance that Mike Vrabel is the next head coach. I'd be okay with him being the coach because I know he's going to get, some sort of offensive coordinator to actually do the job, work with a rookie quarterback, or a second-year quarterback now, and create that piece that needs to be put together properly. Does he probably have a couple people that will work with him? Yes. Is there going to be something in that locker room that is going to join everything together and make things work? Yes. Is there more of a punctual piece to get things going from that method that'll be a benefit for not only Mike Vrabel, but also, not Mike Vrabel, will it be a benefit to Drake May and the players involved getting someone like him? Yes. First off, you're going to have that culture of he understands new players. He's not an older guy. He's a guy who's played. He's been on the field. He knows the aspect of being yelled at, but he also knows discipline, and he knows to the fact that he expects not a lot of holding calls, not a lot of offside calls, not a lot of movement calls, not a lot of things like that Gerard Mayo was just like, yeah, we got to get that. No, that should be a coach's job of getting. You need to focus more on that than focusing more on, they're being soft. No, they need to be disciplined. They need to have that aspect. And whatever the heck happened in London, which was all the more so, like, hugely laughable. When you have something that goes on in London, what's your expectation from there? To be better. Hold players accountable. You're not in your room, you don't play. Oh, you're not here? You're not here. But you can't just sit there and go, we're going to get this guy. We're going to do this. Yeah, he's going to be like benched most of the game, or he's going to be put on the sideline. What does that show for you? Hey, why did he play? Well, there was an incident and that's that. Well, what was the incident? Not talking about it. Was there anything he did? There was something that's like, it's within the locker room. It's everything else. That's all. If it gets leaked out, hey, was somebody not in their room? I'm not at liberty to discuss. That's between me, the player, and somebody else. If you guys have heard something, great, cool. Run a story, because that's all it's going to be is opinion. I know fact. The player knows fact. Robert knows fact. That's it. There's no other way to go about that. State your piece, state your name, that's it. Did you do this? Something happened. Well, what happened? Something I'm not at liberty to say. And if you're also going to be one of those guys that goes on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you call it now, and then you go here, and then you go do this, and then you go do this, and all you're doing is, oh yeah, I'm the best hands in the league. No, you're not, dude. That's a gimme. You're not the best hands in the league. If you were, well, balls would be thrown to you. Everything else would be like an expectation, and you'd be flying kites right now. You know, certain people should not be, like, anybody making those comments, like, even Tavai's comments about what he said about Gerard Mayo, and also what he said about the fans. That should have been a Gerard coming out and saying, listen, I understand what Tavai said. You know, I appreciate him coming up to bat for me. Do you know who actually said the right thing? Was one of, like, I think it was the quarterback's coach. And he said, like, along the lines of like what I said. You have your coach, and there's things that we can't control. But in the presence of what fans are doing, fans are having emotions. And fans are going through the motions. They're seeing their team lose. They're seeing their team fail. So who's the first person they're going to push it on? Well, they're going to blame like a player or two or five that fail. But then after that, it's the coach for not correcting the players that are failing. That's what it comes down to. It's the same thing as at a job. You know, you go to work for like some place, and when you go to work for them, one of the things is here's your expectation. Here's this. And you go and do your job the best of your ability, the way you're accounting for, the way everything else is going, and the way like you're meant to be hired. Now, upon you doing that, one of the things you'll find is that there's an issue that is not being related to something else, but it affects you. And now, like, you're not performing as you expect. They're seeing your numbers, they're seeing certain things go on, but you're not getting the job done in a high level rate. Well, what's their direct boss doing? Oh, everything he's doing, but now he's finding out that the general manager or the general boss, coach, is feeding other things that are stopping them from doing their thing. So what's that doing now? It's causing a rift. Who gets fired? That's the question. Because when you look at it like who gets fired, general manager is going to get fired over the team. General manager is going to get fired over the employee. And the general manager can look and say, like, you know something, we have to have a thing. We're going to write you up. You're going to say, why? You created this, and this. And it's like, that's right. And you need to abide by that. And it's like, I have. Your method doesn't work. This is what we're doing. This is what I've been doing. And I think that's where Alex Van Pelt had the issue. Do I know if anybody else is going to go in and, like, next thing you know, be dismissed and fired? Well, that depends upon the new coach that comes in. That depends upon, like, the expectation of everything else. The one thing I'm seeing for now is that Elliot Wolf is safe. Now, could I understand why Elliot Wolf is safe? Sure. Elliot Wolf is one of those safe guys because when you look at the draft, that was an immensely great draft that came out from the Patriots this year. You got a couple extra players, you got like some movement pieces, you got things that may develop into something else. You may see like, trade pieces, trade chips. But for the two quarterbacks you took in that draft, and I'll say it because, oh crap. Joe Milton. He had probably like an immensely fantastic game. One touchdown, one rushing touchdown. And he did fantastic. So drafting someone like him was probably the best thing in the world. Could you use him and Drake May as a 1-2 punch? Sure. Joe Milton like cuts around, like, you throw to Joe Milton, then Joe Milton throws downfield, or he throws back to Drake May, like running the route, like to the fact he gets 15 yards. There's cool tricks you can do with two guys who can not only throw the ball, but can take off and run. Yeah. I just see it as like, you drafted those two guys. You got, let's see who we got. So Drake May, Jalen Polk, offensive tackle Caden Wallace, guard Layden Robinson, wide receiver Jawan Baker, cornerback Markelius Dial, Joe Milton, and Yaheem Bell. Mainly offensive focused because the defense was supposed to be right where it needed to be. Do I see anything wrong with that draft? No, that was probably one of the most strong drafts that the Patriots have done. Do you want to get rid of Elliott Wolf for that? No, I don't. Do you want to give him high praise? Well, in a method, yes, and in a method, no. But whoever comes in and becomes that, that coach. I know, got a little bit of a list here. Mike Vrabel, of course, was one of the big pieces. Ben Johnson. Which Ben Johnson is the offensive coordinator of the Lions. There's been a lot of talk about, whether he would leave Detroit. He's going to be in demand because he has a great football knowledge. He's an offensive mind. It's great for what he would put in the mix. But the one thing that I don't want to like construed with Ben Johnson is I know he's going to be on 100%. He's going to be on a want list. Where I kind of fail, and I understand where two people have mentioned to me the name Ben Johnson. I don't see Ben Johnson doing a fix in New England because you're doing the same thing with Gerard Mayo with Ben Johnson. Just from a defensive side, you're switching to the offensive side. I understand the aspect of having, that fit. For the knack of trying to get my thought in order. I guess the fact of would it work in Drake May's favor, the offensive favor? Would it actually pull maybe a couple people? Sure. But I don't see it being something along the line of hey, we've got to get this guy in here. We've got to do this. We've got to make this happen. We've got to adjust with this. Vrabel kind of goes above that because he's been the coach. He's been to the dances. He's been facing his old coach, beating his old coach, making that stand in that method. The other guy who I actually have a lean on, if the Vrabel situation kind of falls suit, I myself would look at Brian Flores. Brian Flores, for one specific reason, Brian Flores was a coach, built a winning team. Thanks, Josh. Built a winning team, made everything to what it could be, and then got it taken away. And the aspect of what he got it taken away for was, well, he didn't want to utilize that same person and didn't want to utilize the same capabilities coming off of, the quarterback in question, which of course was Tua. Now, if you take all of Tua's toys away, and he's still where he is, he's a concussion protocol guy who's just a failure. Is he what you want to build a team over? Like, if you put Tua versus Drake May, who do you want? I'm going Drake May. Tua has two absolutely fantastic number one wide receivers that, thanks to Brian Flores with having the idea to put things like this into the control. Yeah, Mike McDaniel just runs amok with everything. Is he like, do I feel like Mike is a good coach? Yeah, he's decent. But he took over for Brian Flores, and you can see where him taking over for Brian Flores has started to drift downward. It's not a positive aspect of where you're going. It's a negative aspect of where you're going. So, from my perspective, there's a lot more within what you can do and a lot less for like the other things, especially where you're looking in a coaching aspect. I myself, I'd be open to a Mike Vrabel possibility. Be open to the fact of the Brian Flores. The other one I'm actually open to is Eric Bieniemy. Still separating from college. He's got that offensive mind, but he also has control. He's one of the reasons why, Patrick Mahomes is what he is. He's also one of the reasons why you've hyped up so much of Kansas City over the years. Where do you fail with that? I'll put a poll in for you guys just to see who you think. I'll actually allow a write-in. But as far as what my expectation is, the Patriots are going to go on a really, really wild ride within finding the next coach, the next offensive coordinator, and everything in between. So this could literally be a little bit of an enjoyment. So stick with us. We'll have more updates. I know the next one will probably be like either Wednesday, Thursday. I know I'm trying to see if the schedule is going to include, if the fact I'm going to continue doing Thursday mornings, or if we might do Thursday nights, which of course I'm going to come on here and do everything I'm doing. So till then, I want to thank everybody for listening and enjoying the time. Hopefully within everything we find out what's going on. Oh yeah, before we leave, clinch the playoff spots So we'll probably on Thursday we'll focus on wild card. Probably after the wild card and everything like that, we'll start getting back into like talking about the Bruins, talking about the Celtics. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things going, but we'll do the same thing with, when the Bruins and Celtics get to their playoff aspects, if they even do, Bruins, or even like what the change for other things will be, like going forward with the Red Sox. But right now for the AFC, in the numerical order, you've got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, Texans, Chargers, Steelers, and Broncos. And then you also have in the NFC, you have the Lions, the Eagles, the Buccaneers, the Rams, the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Packers. I didn't even see. Holy crap. So the Lions actually beat the Vikings 31-9. And Jared Goff threw 2 interceptions, and Sam Darnold didn't even throw a touchdown. 31-9. Ooh. Well, so much for that battle of supremacy. So that's going to be in a fun glance. But that's basically where you're lacking. Eliminated on the AFC side. The Bengals, Colts, Dolphins. Dolphins were actually like 10. That's where they're out. 11 was the Jets. The Patriots still were number 13. Because the same tied with them was the Raiders, and then the Browns and the Titans were 3 and 14. So the other 3 and 14 team was the Giants. They were the 16th team, and but the Falcons actually 8 and 9, taking on that big contract. Woo! The only 10-win team that's out is the Seahawks, which is a bummer because the Rams were 10 and 7, Buccaneers were 10 and 7, Packers were actually higher than like those guys. They were 11 and 6. Man, that was a huge deal. All right. Well, we'll talk more about this next time. And, for the wild card, probably going to be like a fun one. Might have a couple of surprises going forward. But like I said, we will be talking a little bit more within the Celtics, the Red Sox, and the Bruins once wild card weekend ends. And we can get back to our normally scheduled programming between everything. So, till then, I want to thank everybody for hanging out. This has been Topher for Just a Bit Outside here in the SSBN podcast. And thank you for joining, listening in, and being a part of it. So we will talk to you guys soon. Take care.